Okay, so we're going to talk about the middle ear and the middle ear cavity. So when I'm talking about the anatomy of the middle ear, all right, we're talking about the anatomy of the middle ear. And middle ear is a six-walled cavity, all right. So we've got a lateral wall, we've got we've got a lateral wall, we've got a medial wall, we've got an anterior wall, and we've got a posterior wall. So pardon the drawing, we'll be using photographs later, but this is going to be the lateral wall. And the lateral wall is exactly where your external ear, alright, your external ear is going to communicate with the middle ear. And here is your inner ear. So let me just draw a very rudimentary drawing of, which is not anatomically correct, but this is a drawing of the cochlea. And anteriorly we have the eustachian tube, alright, with the anterior wall. And the posterior wall we would have the mastoid, if I could, something like this. Um, but definitely this is not anatomically very correct, and that is why we'll be studying it more on the basis of a diagram that we're going to be using. Now, the first thing you want to make sure when you're talking about the ear cavity is that we can see a roof, which is going to be your superior wall. Then we can see the anterior wall, right? We can see the anterior wall. This is the anterior wall. And now with the anterior wall, we have the eustachian tube. All right, with the anterior wall, we've got the eustachian tube, and this is the lateral wall that's here. This one. All right. So when you look at the lateral wall, the one which I've shaded, is the lateral wall, and the lateral wall is definitely going to communicate with the help of a tympanic membrane. So if I could draw, this would be your tympanic membrane in blue. Alright, obviously this is not how it would appear, but okay, this could be a tympanic membrane. More or again, you need to understand this is just a systematic diagram. The lateral wall itself is the tympanic membrane, but because I am making it a box for better understanding, so if I were to say that the lateral wall is a box, what I basically mean is that the lateral wall itself is the tympanic membrane, and that about being it. Then we have the posterior wall. This is going to be the posterior wall. This itself is going to be the posterior wall. And now the posterior wall is more like a continuation. Let's say this is it's a continuation. It's nothing different. So when you're looking into the from the external auditory canal, the posterior wall of the external auditory canal continues to be the posterior wall of the middle ear itself. And the posterior wall is obviously going to communicate with the mastoid antrum. And then we've got the anterior wall. This is the anterior wall, as I've already spoken, which is going to communicate with the eustachian tube and is also going to have a muscle attached, which we will look into later. And this is going to be a roof, obviously, that does not need any demarcation. And this is going to be the medial wall, which is one of the most important structures when it comes to uh, in the inner ear. So let me just directly start with the uh, anatomy of the middle ear. Well, lateral wall does not need much of an introduction itself, correct? So what would the middle ear actually, medial wall actually have? So for that, I would like I would like to use actually this image, which is better of in the sense it gives me a better idea of uh, how to place it. So basically, this is going to be your medial wall, which I'm going to pick. This is going to be um, this is going to be my medial wall, right? Yeah. So this is my medial wall, which I have picked, and in the medial wall, obviously, a very important uh, a very important thing is that the first very important thing is that there is going to be a promontory, and this is going to be your promontory. So what is a promontory? Promontory is nothing but the impression of the semicircular canals on the medial wall. There's going to be a promontory in the center, which is one of the most important things that we could even think of, which is the basal tone of the cochlea. And the basal tone of the cochlea, if I'm to draw the cochlea, if I am to draw the cochlea, let's say out here, the cochlea is something like this. It's got 2.5 to 3, to 2.5 to 2.75 tones. And this basal tone, this basal which I'm scribbling over, is exactly what the promontory is. And the basal tone, if you notice, the basal tone has the high frequency. And this basal tone is often involved in a lot of disorders. So there's going to be basal basal tone, which is if involved in menias, it's going to have some. Sorry, the apex is rather involved in the menias, and the apex would have the lower frequency sound, and the basal tone has the higher frequency sound. Now, coming once dealing with that, the most one of the other very important landmarks that you could see in the middle ear is the facial canal, where the facial canal is actually, let's say, it's coming from the internal meat, acoustic meatus, and it's going. All right, it's going, and when it reaches the middle ear medial wall, it enters into a bony cavity or bony um, canal. All right, and it enters into the bony canal. So let me write internal acoustic meatus out here. It's coming. It's going to enter the inner ear cavity, inner ear from the internal acoustic meatus, running along with the seventh and the eighth cranial nerve, and then it's going to reach your geniculate. It's going to reach your middle ear, and when it reaches your middle ear, it runs into the facial canal. Now, the thing about the facial canal is that it curves right out here, and the point where it curves is that where exactly there is a ganglion present, and this ganglion is a very famous ganglion. For a matter of fact, this is the ganglion which gives fibers to a lot. It is the fiber which gives parasympathetic fibers and forms the greater petrosal nerve. So this is your geniculate ganglion, and this geniculate ganglion is very close, and that's why we call this as the first genu. It's called the first genu. All right, and then this is kind of the uh, turn, or let's say a very sudden turn that the canal makes, and then we've got it more or less running horizontally all the way to the posterior wall, and it runs more or less horizontally all the way to the posterior wall. So this is your canal. It runs all the way horizontally to the posterior wall, and then in the posterior wall, it takes a vertical course. So what I'm saying is that the facial canal is not just a part of the middle wall; it's also part of the posterior wall, not just the medial wall. That's what I'm trying to say. After saying that, we need to come to a very important landmark, which basically connects the middle ear to the inner ear and is transmitting the sound from the stapes, the foot plate of stapes, into the inner ear. And that's going to be your oval window. Now, the oval window is going to be low out here, correct? It's going to be low. It's going to be low. Sorry, a little higher though, a little higher because we need to make space for the round window too. So this is going to be your oval window. And to the oval window, you cannot have an oval window unless you perform the step erectomy, right? You cannot just have an oval window. So an oval window is also going to be there with the stapes. So this is going to be your stapes, and this is going to be your footplate of the stapes, and this is going to be the body of the stapes. All right, and obviously your malleus and incus is going to come outwards towards the lateral wall, towards the earth. This would be if I can make this somehow 3D, the the ossicles will be projecting towards you. And as in physics, how we say X or something that's coming towards, or a dot that something's going towards you. Similarly, I would make a dot just to signify that the staples are looking right towards you, right into the eye. Now, after that, we've got the oval window, and then we've got the round window. Correct. We've got the oval window and we've got the round window. The two important windows of the entire middle ear. Once taken care of that, okay, we no, I am not drawing anything on the roof, just that if it appears so. But again, on the medial wall itself only I'm drawing. This is the medial wall. Let's not take the roof into consideration. On the medial wall, there is a bulge, and this bulge is the bulge of the lateral semicircular canal because the ear has a lateral semicircular canal that is going towards the middle ear, just like how stapes is, and the ossicles are pointing towards you, are looking at you in the eye when you're watching the video. Similarly, the lateral semicircular canal is also looking towards you. So if I could draw the lateral semicircular canal out here, a very rough drawing. This was the promontory, all right, and we've got the superior semicircular canal. We'll be having the posterior semicircular canal, and the lateral semicircular canal would be looking towards you out here. So what that basically means is that it's an X or a dot, whatever. It's towards you. So that is about it when it comes to um, the medial wall. Obviously, I'm forgetting one very important um, landmark, a very, very important landmark, without which, again, I'm drawing on the medial wall itself. So, a very important landmark, which is going to be this a hook kind of thingy, which we call as processus cochleoformis. And this processus cochleoformis is also a landmark for the genu because it's very close to the genu. Otherwise, you cannot really rely on the LSC for identifying the genu. So what you should rely is on the on the processus cochleoformis. And this processus cochleoformis is basically the point where a muscle, a very important muscle, all right, a very, very important muscle called tensor tympani, all right, called tensor tympani actually attaches. So what happens is that the tensor tympani takes origin from the anterior wall, and let me make the anterior wall rather green. So this is the anterior wall, correct? And note that the processus cochleoformis is not on the anterior wall; it's rather on the medial wall. So what happens is that there is a muscle that actually arises from your very important anterior wall. So let me make that muscle tendon out here. Let's see, just a second. So there is a muscle tendon that actually arises from the anterior wall, right? And it goes and enlarges onto the processus cochleoformis, which we cannot see because now we are drawing the anterior wall, all right? And it goes and attaches to the malleus. Now, obviously, we cannot draw the malleus. So let me give an analogy to this. What it basically means is that we what we are doing is that it's like a sling that basically comes from the anterior wall, attaches on the processus cochleoformis, and then goes and attaches to the malleus to prevent excessive stimulation of the ear to dampen the sound. Simply that as well would work. All right. After that, what else? What else can we actually think of? Correct. All right. A very important thing that we should all note is that here there is a nerve. There is a very important plexus of nerves, which is formed by the Jacobson nerve. A Jacobson nerve is a nerve from the glossopharyngeal nerve. All right. So that means about the median wall. Now, when I'm coming to the posterior wall, all right, when I'm coming to the posterior wall, what I really want you to understand is that the posterior wall itself, okay, has to be drawn because of the fact that this diagram is going to confuse us a little. So I'm going to draw the posterior wall. This is going to be the medial wall, all right. Um, I'm just drawing the medial wall for you know just to give us an idea, a rough idea about how the uh, cavity is aligned. So, so if this is, let's say, if I've opened the drawer of a room and this is the medial wall, all right, this is the medial up. See, if this is the medial wall, this is the medial wall. So this has to be the posterior one. And the posterior one is also extending behind. It's not just this. This is just like an entire room. It's just like an entire attic that's behind. So the middle ear is definitely a room. Now you're in the middle ear. You're standing out here. You can see the medial wall. You can see the wall, which is your medial wall, and you can see the posterior wall. So you've seen that there's a very important canal that's coming out here. It goes quite horizontally, and then, as I've told you, that goes vertically. All right. So we've dealt with this very important facial canal, correct? Facial canal, a very important fact. What else do we have to deal with? Well, the most important thing is that the facial canal has an exit. Obviously, this is the vertical part of facial canal. This exit is called very commonly stylomastoid foramen. Now, the stylomastoid foramen is one of the most important parts because out here the facial nerve is damaged. Facial nerve is damaged. When it's damaged, it will lead to your paralysis. Simple as that. Now, there is a very important thing out here which is called as the adductus. So, what is this? This is like, let's say you have a posterior wall, all right, and there's behind us an attic. There's a complete attic behind. So to enter into the attic, you obviously need to have a wall, or you need to have a route of entry. So the route of entry is coming into the roof. It's actually not out. It's not up, or it's not in the middle, but rather at the roof. So this is basically your adductus, which we call as adductus ad antrum, because this is the attic. Let's say this is the attic, and basically it's the antrum. If I have to go technical, is the mastoid antrum. Correct. So we are sitting here in the mastoid antrum. We want to go into the mastoid antrum from the middle ear. So obviously I need to take this adductus to enter. Now, next is going to be a very important structure that I really want you all to focus upon because it's very important while doing an ENT surgery where you want to go and you want to do a posterior mastectomy or something of that sort where you actually want to enter uh, into a canal up or a canal down procedure is going to be differentiated on the fact that you're going to use a fossa inclusus or not. Uh, because fossa inclusus is uh, very close to another very important area called as we'll get to that. We'll get to that. But let me first tell you what this fossa inclusus is. This is something known as a fossa inclusus. Now, the fossa inclusus, my dear friends, is nothing but an impression. All right, we saw an impression out here, that was semicircular canal. We saw an impression out here. We saw process cochleophobia, which is not an impression, mind you. We've seen the round oval window, we've seen the round window. All right, and now we see another very important fossa inclusus, held yes. So what this fossa inclusus is, well, it's beautiful how we've come up with these very important minute details, and it's really helpful during the surgery because this is the short process of incus time to draw. So to give you an understanding of what this incus is, so let's say um, this is your tympanic membrane, this is your malleus, all right. You've got the anterior process of the malleus, you've got the head of the malleus, all right. You've got the anvil, you've got the neck, you've got the head of the malleus, and with the malleus is the second bone that attaches. Now, this is your short process, and this is your long process. So this is your LP and this is your SP. Now the thing is that this SP is actually directed. Now I'm making this as a lateral view. Let's say you're standing in the middle here and you're looking from the side. But let's say if you're looking from the front, what would it be? This would be your short process, and you would not be able to see the long process properly because it would be articulating with the stapes behind. So basically, this is the long process of this is the short process of incus that actually is going to make an impression on the posterior wall because something called as a fossa incudis. Now, the fossa incudis is very close to a very important canal. So again, I'm going to go yellow when it comes to the canal. Now, very important to understand is that there's a nerve out here, right? There's a beautiful nerve out here. What is the nerve? It's the facial nerve. Obviously, there's a facial nerve out here. Now, the facial nerve, before it goes out and it goes into the parotid, and then it gives the five branches, it gives up a very beautiful nerve called as a cauda tympani. And this cauda tympani nerve, it's so beautiful by the nature that the cauda tympani nerve runs right up into this cauda tympani canal. Alright, it runs right up and it enters here. Alright, and when this is the cauda tympani. Alright, the, the amazing thing about cauda tympani is is just one thing. It is that it after entering, alright, after entering into the posterior mode, what it does is that all this while it's been running into the canal, alright, it's taking the help of the bone. Later, what it does is that it just directly, like a Spider-Man's web, it jumps right into the medullary cavity. Bloody hell, what a risk, you know. It's got a lot of guts. I should say that it's got a lot of guts. So definitely is going to enter into the medullary cavity. And when it enters into the medullary cavity, I would tell you that it exits, alright, it exits from the anterior wall. Bloody hell, what a nerve. What a nerve. One nerve directly. What a force. Alright. But after that, alright, I definitely need to erase this part because I need to demonstrate something way better, something way more important. Alright, something really, really important. I need to demonstrate something which is called as the facial recess. What the heck is that thing? Well, the facial recess, don't get tense, it's not any other landmark. We are done with landmarks or we are done with structures that are facing. But what this essentially is that it's a recess, it's an area which is above, um, which is also called as the suprapyramidal recess. And this something special about this recess is that this recess in the entire posterior canal, and sorry, in the entire posterior wall, is the safest place to drill from. Alright, if you want to drill from the mastoid antrum, this behind attic, this is womb, and you want to enter into the safest place to drill is this. Obviously, you would be wondering why can't you go from the antrum into this? Because the adductus is really small. It's not something which is massive. It's something that allows infection to definitely go from the middle ear into the antrum, but not by not surgical instrument or anything of that sort. So definitely you need to know what a facial recess is. So if I'm to draw a facial recess right here, alright, a facial recess is a pyramid, and the pyramid is surrounded laterally by two canals. One is your facial nerve, which is medially. Laterally, you have the chorda tympani again, which is a facial nerve. So let me make it green to say that this is chorda tympani is a little, nasty little fellow because it could have just left. But again, after, so what actually has happened is that when it could have left along with the facial nerve, it came back and it wanted to go into the posterior canal again. All right, and superiorly, very important is this structure called as a fossa inclutis. And fossa inclutis is basically the impression of the sprout process of the stapes. And that's very important. Um, uh, Next we have is um, on the posterior wall again. We've got this very important structure. All right, it's called the pyramid. Well, you will be thinking, whoa, 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 this is the pyramid too. Definitely, this is also a facial recess area called as the suprapyramidal recess. But there's a pyramid itself, it's a structure. The pyramid has two parts, obviously. It has the, so what is the pyramid first, and then let me tell you about its parts. Pyramid is something that gives attachment to a very important muscle called as stapedius. Okay, it's a very important thing that gives attachment to the stapedius. And attachment, what I mean by attachment is that the muscle stapedius itself originates from here. Alright, and as you can see here is the oval window where I have drawn on the screen another circle over the round window. So from the pyramid, which is this beautiful area, in the middle, yeah. But it's so beautifully placed by God that wow, this pyramid is like a crest of bone that's just bulging and giving it enough space to grapple, this muscle to grapple onto it, and then go and attach onto the staples, correct? And where onto the staples, if this is your staples, all right, and this is your oval window, OW, sorry, the muscle itself would attach out here, and it would be like a rope in the neck of the staples, and that's why it's literally what it's called. This stapedius muscle is attached on the neck of the staples. Now, once you've understood that, this is about this pyramid. What we need to understand is that this pyramid has two parts. The superior part is called as a ponticulus, and the inferior part is called as a subiculum. Now, the ponticulus and the subiculum are the just two important names that you could probably be asked upon or quizzed upon, ponticulus and subiculum. There's nothing something which is very special to these things, but what is very important is that there is this area, right? There's this very important area which is below the sinus, which is below the pyramid, and it is called very commonly. And let me just give it a very different color instead of giving it something uh, that has been used. Let me use a purple. All right, all right, okay. So all right, so this area, which is out here, all right, what happens is that usually, when we when we enter, when we enter from one of these into the rooms from here, we often approach for shaded area, simply because of the fact that there is a facial canal which is protruding. So if I were to draw, okay, if I were to draw, let's say if you have entered into the room and there's a big massive pillar. There's a pillar which has its contours, something like this. This is exactly what the facial canal looks like. So you're standing here, but you cannot see what's behind the facial canal. What's behind the facial canal, you cannot see. And that's exactly what this area, which is called the sinus tympani area, the infrapyramidal recess, is not seen. It's the hidden area of the middle ear. And therefore, a lot of diseases like cholesteatoma is often left unseen often. Good. So that's done with the medial wall. Coming to the easier parts, definitely we've got the anterior wall. Now, when I'm talking about the anterior wall has three openings. All right, it has three openings. First is your opening for the eustachian tube. Second is, so let me just write it, eustachian tube. One is for tensa tympani origin. So this is the opening. Tensa tympani origin, as I've already told you, which is like a sling and then goes to the hammer, as I had explained. And very important is the opening of chorda tympani. A chorda tympani is the risky nerve that came, which could have gone down left, but it came up and then slingshot like a Spider-Man web directly into the anterior wall. Well, that's exactly what chorda tympani is. So where are all these structures? Let me just highlight the region, the anterior wall for you. This is the anterior wall. All right, all right, all right, gotcha. So, what exactly are the openings? The openings can't exactly be uh, randomized, right? It cannot be random. It has to be uh, at a particular place. So let me think. Let me make you understand. Out here is the processus cochleaformis on the medial wall, which we've understood, which we've recognized. True. Let me just make an X out here. So if there's a processus cochleaformis out here and it has a slingshot, obviously your tensor tympani origin has to occur from the most medial part of the anterior wall. So this is the anterior wall, and the most medial part of the anterior wall is going to slingshot out here. It's going to attach, and it's again going to go on the medial wall. Oh, sorry, on the lateral wall. All right, and it's coming towards you. That's why I have to draw it with an X. It's coming towards you in a 3D dimension. Um, second, very important, very important, is that I told you about this very particular nerve, the very famous nerve called as cauda tympani. Oh my God, very famous nerve called as cauda Cauda tympani. Now this cauda tympani, which would have gone out and but left, it entered in once again. It's going to slingshot, right? It's going to slingshot. and it needs to exit. So obviously in the center or somewhere more laterally with is you have an canal, and it's called as canal of Haguer. It's called canal of Haguer, or I like to call it canal of Higuain. Instead of using an N, we just use an R, so Haguer or Harry Maguire, and very bad. And this is another opening in the anterior wall. Last is definitely the eustachian tube. Now, if you think about it, your ears are located way above compared to your mouth. So obviously your eustachian tube is coming from your nasopharynx, or even if you just look at the nasal cavity in general and your pharynx, they are way below compared to your ears. So obviously your eustachian tube travels upwards, and therefore in the floor, in the lower part, obviously you have the opening of the eustachian tube. Very important. Block serous otitis media, chronic or acute otitis media, and XYZ. That being about the anterior wall. So we are done with the posterior wall, we are done with the anterior wall, we're done with the medial wall. We know the lateral wall is the tympanic membrane. What's left? The roof. Roof. Okay, roof. What's the roof about? Well, the roof is just a it's just bone. It's called tegmen tympani. This entire roof, this roof. All right. It's called tegmen tympani. Tympani. Very well. Very well. So what's the inferior wall? Well, okay. To get the inferior wall right, let me use this. All right. Okay. So the inferior wall. What does the inferior wall have? The inferior wall has a vein, a very important vein, a vein that can easily kill you. So because the inferior wall is seen, this is the inferior wall. So at the bottom of the inferior wall out here, literally out here, there's a very important vein which is called as the bulb. Very important. And from um, the jugular foramen, which is very close to the middle ear, we have the nerves. We have three important nerves that are right there, literally right there in the floor, which are your ninth, 10th, and 11th. Now the ninth nerve itself, if you look at it, it's your Jacobson nerve is coming from the jugular foramen. So we could get much more into detail of this, but definitely what's necessary to understand is that in the floor there is a jugular bulb, and there's obviously a 9, 10, and 11 nerve which comes from the jugular foramen. And in the roof, very importantly, is your tegmen tympani, above which is your temporal lobe of the brain. Uh, and I think that's literally about it.